This is Leisha Holmes, and I am your host on the Recruitment podcast brought to you by Hoxo Media. I'm really excited to introduce to our channels today a familiar face to those who are on LinkedIn and who follow wellbeing and mindfulness and coaching and best practice. This is Mike Whatman, who is the Director of Team Head Coach, and I'm so thrilled to welcome you today. How are you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. So for those who are not yet familiar with you and what you do, give us an introduction. What do you do?
Of course. So I have a bit of a hybrid, background. So I've got 12 years working in recruitment. So I kind of came out of university, all medical-based degrees. I did an undergraduate in medicine, medical physiology, and then did a master's degree in nutrition, and kind of came out of university not really knowing what to do. And stumbled across recruitment as many people did sort of 10, 15 years ago. There wasn't as much of a brand, or I suppose, awareness around recruitment and the opportunities that it can bring you. So I started in that and absolutely adored it, loved it, started as a trainee, worked my way through to principal consultant and eventually sales manager, team leader, etc., etc., etc. And then had a slight sort of change in career path. I was working for a business that was bought out as part of an acquisition, and so with that they looked to grow rapidly, global expansion, and they wanted to try and improve the internal kind of like training offerings and bring it all in house. And I was asked if I would like to have a go at doing so, and like every overly competitive man, I said yes, and then I thought I'd figure out the how afterwards. Reason why I was asked is because outside of work, and the reason why it's coaching now, is I have probably 15 years experience working in professional or elite sport. So played rugby to a high standard, then did my coaching badges after injury curtailed that. So coached at a national league level, and then also worked with professional athletes in football, golf, rowing. So I had a real kind of coaching background, and human performance, maximising human performance, and really kind of empowering people to fulfill their potential. It's just a huge passion of mine. It's something that I strive to improve every single day, both over myself or everyone that I work with. And so that leads me to really kind of today, where Team Head Coach is a business that works specifically within the recruitment market, working with sort of small to medium size recruitment businesses that are looking to scale. Primarily working with kind of future leaders and billing managers, which is the toughest role in recruitment, to turn them into world-class leaders, to be able to help them create and grow their business and their teams to, like I said, maximize and fulfill their potential. And that's kind of what fills my diary at the moment.
Oh, absolutely brilliantly done. That was a superb introduction. And what an eclectic blend of skills, experience, and value you bring to our amazing sector. And that's clearly, listener, why I invited Mike on today, because what we're going to talk about today is creating high performance culture and ensuring that you are somebody has a growth mindset, and how you then attract and retain those with growth mindset. So I'm so excited to sort of talk to you about these passionate topics, because clearly I can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, Mike's getting as animated as I do when I get excited about something. So it's very clear that's why you're very successful at what you do. And thank you for sort of positioning yourself accordingly, because I think that anyone that's listening will probably, their ears will be pricking up now thinking, right, what can I do? So bearing in mind that our listener is probably your catchment as well. It's those aspiring leaders, as we like to say, those who are running recruitment businesses of all sizes, right across the globe. What exactly is a high performance culture? Let's really define what that means. And then how do we go about creating what we'd like to think is a high performance culture? So let's define it first, and then we're going to talk about what we can do to achieve it within our businesses.
So the first thing to be clear about is there is no such thing as like a perfect one size fits all culture. There is a perfect culture for the situation in which the business finds itself in. A startup business of 3 people doesn't require the same kind of culture as a business with 30 to 50 heads. It's a completely different environment. So the first thing that needs to be really, really clear with people is, there's nothing wrong with imitation, and it's one of the best things to do is to learn and to observe others and see what they do, and bring that in to try and make it work for yourself. But what's really important is you don't just try and replicate it straight away. So one of the things I hear a lot about culture, which makes me laugh, because obviously I've got a rugby background, and so a lot of people, business owners, will read the book Legacy, which was the business book based around the All Blacks and their culture and stuff.
Yep.
And they go, well, I kind of read that book, and then I tried to implement the stuff where they took out their own bins, and we had it, but it just didn't really fit. Of course it's not going to fit. Like, that's a high performing sports professional team, and you're a 5-man recruitment business. It's a completely different setup. So the first thing to be really, really clear on is that there is no such thing as like a one size fits all. This is what a perfect culture looks like. There's a perfect culture for each business.
Okay.
That's what's really important to try and understand. I think, Pep Guardiola, the Manchester City boss, says that the best coaches are just the best idea thieves.
Yeah.
So what they do is they steal ideas from other people, but then they mold it to their own environment. And that's what leaders have to do, to try and pick and choose other ideas. They might hear something on this podcast today that's a good idea. Then how can I make that fit for my team? But overall, a high performance culture is based on constant improvement. Okay. It's based on constantly showing up, consistency. Consistency in performance is massive when it comes to high performance. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to limit the differences between what a good day and a bad day looks like.
Okay.
Successful teams that continually show a positive trajectory and growth have a smaller gap between good and bad.
Okay.
Because then you kind of grow. Whereas if you have a big gap, you're constantly going up and down, and then you're basically just moving in a flat trajectory. So high performance is around showing up consistently with the right behaviors, and then really trying to minimize the differences between good and bad. How we establish it. So you're the leader, you've got your business, you've got your team, you've got you're trying to grow. The most important thing, and probably the word that I use the most every single day, is clarity.
Okay.
Before you start anything, you need to have clarity. So firstly, clarity in what are you trying to achieve as a team? Where are you trying to get to? And then how are you going to get there?
Yeah.
So the reason why, what you're trying to achieve as a team is your purpose.
Yes, of course.
So we talk about the importance about having a purpose-led environment, and having a purpose is hugely powerful when it comes to performance. Reason being is that a purpose connects with the people in the team emotionally, rather than it being a binary figure.
Yes.
Because binary figures can be crippling, because they, one, don't really mean anything because they're just a number on a board. But two, we make decisions on whether it's achievable. Say, for example, our team target was £1 million by the end of the year, and it's October and we're on 600,000. We're not going to achieve that. So what's the point of carrying on?
I totally agree with you.
Equally, we're at 900,000 in October. Oh, we're going to smash that. We can take a foot off the gas. Whereas if it's a purpose that is sort of emotion-led, or actually means something and connects with the people in the team, then what that does is it prevents that dip and peak and trough performance, because they've always got constantly something to strive for.
Yeah. And
Deloitte did a study in 2019 where they found that purpose-led businesses, so like your Apples and your Googles and your all sorts in the world, on average have a higher market share. Yeah. They grow 3 times faster than any other competitor business. But they do all of this with a higher level of employee engagement and satisfaction. So
and retention, I presume.
And retention, yeah, exactly. So find me a business leader that doesn't want to grow 3 times faster than their competition. They're doing it organically by keeping their people happy.
Yeah.
So that's why that purpose part is so important. But then not only what do we want to be, we want to be, we want to be seen as being the most compliant recruitment team in the business, or we want to have the best offer to acceptance ratio in the business, whatever it might be. There's something that's got to connect you. But then once we know where we want to go, we need to know the how. Okay. So you want to have a game plan.
Of course. Okay.
Because what you want to try and do is you want to limit the amount of interference that goes on in the mind of the people when they're trying to deliver their activities. So one of the key things you want to do is, I said, have a game plan. People need to know how they're going to get there.
Okay. So you've got your why, but you need your how as well.
You need your how as well, because once you've got that established, you've got your winning behaviors. So what I mean by winning behaviors is that if you look back in any time where you've had success, you were doing certain things.
Yeah.
Success leaves clues. That is not by accident.
No.
Okay. So what was I doing well? What were we doing well? What ratios did we have? You know, what was our client re-engagement like? What were we doing? Okay, this is what we were doing. This is what we were not doing. So let's do more of this and less of that. And if we do that, then we know that drives success.
Yeah.
So let's agree on what we're going to be doing. And every culture, every high performance culture has a set of agreed behaviors that are non-negotiables, that are just expected behaviors that are going to help you get to where you want to get to.
Okay.
And the tipping point for any successful team is when these behaviors are policed within the team. They're self-policed. You kind of pick each other up on it.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want is to be like this parent-child relationship where the leader is constantly like, do this. And they're like, oh, get off my back, man. You're just nagging.
Which micromanagement. You get told it's
exactly. Management, which 2021.
No. You want to empower people to feel, like you say, that minimum expectation, whatever they are, that's just what's required every day. If you turn up, that's what you do.
Exactly. And like I said, that's I love that word, empowerment, because what you're trying to do is, one of the biggest challenges facing future leaders and billing managers is they're time poor. They feel like they have no time, right?
They don't.
Whether I agree with that, I'm not sure. Is it behavior management or is it time management? That's another conversation for another time. But to get more of their time back, they need to be able to give sort of psychological ownership to their team. And in order to do that, they need to invest in them and make sure they've got the competency to be able to do it.
Yes.
And also the organizational clarity in terms of what are we trying to achieve?
Yep.
And that is all underpinned by that how. So we've got our purpose, we've got our game plan, we've got our winning behaviors. And then it's about finding the right people.
Of course.
Because you can have the best culture in the world, right? You can have a framework that has brilliant non-negotiables, yet enough space for individual brilliance to thrive. However, if you've got the wrong people in it and bad apples, very quickly that really good culture can dissipate into something toxic.
Yeah.
One thing I'd always say is take time to hire, get the right people in, waste no time on the fire, get rid of people who are detrimental.
Toxicity has to go.
Oh, straight away.
Why are you even considering? I mean, you obviously come from a sporting background, so it's the old adage, isn't it, that you're sort of goal scorer, the one that's kind of getting them in the back of the net, but they're absolutely toxic and to the detriment of the rest of the team. You wouldn't even think twice about managing those behaviours. So why on earth, just because your top biller's making you money, but they're absolutely toxic and everybody's leaving the company because of them? We hear it all the time. Obviously, I'm a Rec to X. That's one of the key reasons people actually do choose to leave companies. Think about your culture.
Like I said, it's so important. And any successful culture, they put the culture above the results.
Yeah.
So it was a while ago now, probably about sort of 5, 6, 7 years, no, maybe even longer. There was a footballer called Zlatan Ibrahimovic who was at Barcelona.
Okay.
And Barcelona had a really strong culture, which was based around your skills gets you in the changing room, but your attitude determines whether you stay in it. Which basically means if you don't fit the culture and what we're trying to do from an ethos perspective, I don't care how good you are. No. And Ibrahimovic, super talented, brilliant player, didn't buy into it at all. He was there one season. So it didn't matter. Like he was gone. So, getting the right people is key. To really kind of embedding that culture. And then like I said, the third and final thing is getting those, winning behaviors agreed. Everyone needs to know this is what's expected of me. These are my non-negotiables. This is how I'm going to win. Right? This is how I'm going to be successful. Whatever success looks like. Because success means different things to different people.
It does.
So how am I going to be successful for what success means to me?
Yeah.
And then we can thrive, and then we can create a high performance environment, and the results will look after themselves. A high performance environment looks after the process. The results look after themselves.
Oh, I absolutely love that. There's loads of brilliant sound bites here, Mike. I knew there would be. Well, that leads very nicely onto the mindset aspect of the people that are working in these high performance and highly successful cultures. So just be, obviously treat me as a layperson here. What's the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset? And how do you know which one you've got?
Okay. So first thing that should be said is that people can have both depending on the environment and situation in which they find themselves in.
Interesting. Okay.
So I was working with a recruitment business who are half based in the US, half based in the UK. And I put them through a bit of a fixed mindset, growth mindset test to kind of see. And how many were there? There were 14 people who did it. And I reckon 9 of them answered both answers to at least a couple of the questions.
Okay.
And the questions were set in different settings. So work-based person and in a relationship, as in like a romantic relationship person, had completely different, standards, the wrong word, flexibility when it came to growth or trying to improve or anything like that. Whereas others, they were fixed. So that's the first thing. The second thing, before we define what they are, is that they can be changed. Okay. So if you sit and listen to this and think, oh, they're making out that having a fixed mindset is bad, and that's what I think I've got, don't worry, because your mindset is predominantly created by the environment that you're in and the kind of the neuroplasticity and the muscle memory that we form every day. But it can be unpicked if you take action. It just requires you to take action.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're hearing this and you're listening to this and think, oh no, they made out that having a fixed mindset in a sales environment is bad, don't worry, because you can work on it. It's fine.
Well, by even listening to this podcast, you're trying to have a growth mindset. That's my view. You wouldn't.
Exactly.
Your brain is a muscle, and by actually not listening, you're not just listening to Bon Jovi, which there's nothing wrong with Bon Jovi, when you're on your lunch break or you're going for your walk in the evening, you're listening to this because you want to grow and you want to learn something in the 20 minutes that we're recording this. So you've done it. You've already done it. We're not judging you. So
the difference, really, growth mindset is the opinion that you have the constant ability to improve your own levels of intelligence, of talent, of whatever it might be, skills. You have the ability to improve.
Okay.
A fixed mindset is when you believe that you were given a certain amount of talent and ability, and that's fixed. And once you reach a certain part of your life, that's it, you're done. I'm not going to improve anymore. It's kind of the old dog's new tricks kind of saying, is that kind of idea. So people with a fixed mindset are very rigid. They constantly look for reaffirmation in the fact that, if, say, for example, a fixed mindset person might say, there's no real point in me calling this client because they haven't picked up for the last 5 times. They call them, ring, they don't pick up. See, I told you. Yeah. They're constantly looking for reaffirmation to cement that belief system that stuff just happens to me. I can't impact it. Yeah. Which is why, like I said, in order to change a fixed mindset, you want to take action. Okay. And rather than saying it won't, you change the mindset and you change the conversation in your head to what if. Okay. What if it did pick up this one time? What if they were, working fully home-based the last 5 times because they've been in lockdown? So I haven't been able to get hold of them. Whereas now they're back in the office. Well, what if they pick up now? Yeah. Like, what if? Okay. And fixed mindset people are constantly looking for metrics, for reassurance. They love metrics. They love numbers that tell them what they've done. Oh, I've got 4 hours on the call stats. I've got 10. See, they love numbers because it reaffirms things. Another way to describe a growth mindset is a performance mindset. And the reason why it's sometimes called a performance mindset is because it's exactly that. It's focusing on the performance, not the outcome. Okay, interesting. The fixed mindset is constantly looking for numbers, results, outcome measurements to reinforce a belief system. Okay. So a performance or a growth mindset is all about improvement. It's all about constantly trying to learn and constantly trying to develop and seeing failure. For those of you who are watching, I'm doing bunny ears. Seeing failure as an opportunity to learn, as a stepping stone to success, rather than a prevention of success that a fixed mindset person might see.
Well, I just want to focus on the bunny ears because I think failure is often seen as this, drastic thing that we all want to avoid, but we all know that we learn best from the mistakes that we make. They're all learning curves. And You know, if whether you've got 6 months recruitment experience listening to this or 16 years recruitment experience, you think about some of the biggest leaps you've taken in your career, whether it's learning a discipline, whether it's learning how to follow a retainer, whatever it might be, it will be from where you've not got it right.
Definitely.
That's true.
There's so much to learn from it. And whereas if you've got a fixed mindset and you go, see, I told you that, I told you I wouldn't be able to sell a retainer, then you won't do it, and you'll believe and you'll do it. And the trouble is that a fixed mindset is often caused by limiting sort of self-belief or limiting self-doubts, and those conversations in our mind where we kind of go, oh, we focus so much on the outcome, or we focus so much on that big goal that it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so what it does is it forms a negative feedback loop in your brain. So you're about to make a call and you go, oh no, what if they don't pick up? You know, that doubt in your mind, that interference in your brain, you overthink, and then so you don't make the call, and then you don't make the call, so you don't achieve your target. And then the next time you're faced with another call, you think, oh, I panicked when I got here last time, so I didn't do it. Maybe I can't do it.
Or maybe the same thing will happen again, so I'm not going to do it.
It's just a loop that goes over and over and over again. So what you want to do instead is you want to take action. Okay, and to answer the second part of the question as to how does this benefit leaders to be able to spot the difference, is that often someone with a fixed mindset will be looking for reasons not to do something because they don't want to highlight a limitation that they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
They might feel overwhelmed. They might have some of it's really tough, and they have a lack of self-worth, which is horrible for people to see. But they don't feel like they deserve the success, so they don't make the call, and that's a real extreme. But a lot of people have struggled huge amounts with their mental health over the last kind of 12 months, and it's led to a lot of people really kind of doubting whether they're right for certain roles. And so a lack of self-worth is a genuine challenge that the leaders need to look out for. And so a fixed mindset person might be slow in putting forward an idea, or they might sit at the back of meetings, and they might, if you suggest a new process, they might not do it straight away, and they hesitate because they just feel overwhelmed by it all, because it seems impossible. So best ways to help them: tell them it's fine, tell them it's okay to get emotional about this stuff, tell them it's okay to have a negative feeling and a worry, because it's part of being human that our brain's job is to protect us. We see Mr. Client as a threat because it's scary and we don't like rejection. So we're going to have an emotional response to it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with them. It's about identifying it and then figuring out how we can break it all down, chunk it all up, make it manageable. And then as leaders, it's then our job to celebrate every single little win. And then we slowly build the confidence back up. We get the smile back on the face. We get the endorphins going. And all of a sudden, we've got a new recruiter on our team who's overachieving, happy and engaged and performing to her maximum again. So that's how it can help.
But it comes down to action that's taken, isn't it? And that leads very nicely to something else that I know you're hugely passionate about, which is all around sort of lifestyle changes. And I think that if you're listening to this and you already know that you want to make positive changes to your entire life, not just your recruitment career or how you lead your team, but it's down to the lifestyle choices. And a large part of that can be sort of the things that we feed ourselves with, whether that's through podcasts, listening and digesting books, etc., but actually food that we eat and the way that we rest our bodies and the way that we're mindful about that. So I think it'd be a very nice way to finish this incredible podcast, which is all about creating better wellbeing for everybody. So talk to us about the foundations for that, because you are a trained medical professional as well as a recruiter and a coach. So give us a holistic view of what we can all do to ensure that we're maximising ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. So before people start calling me with problems and rashes and stuff, it's nutritionists rather than medical.
Nutrition. Yeah, sorry.
Rather than anything else, broken ankles and stuff, go to somebody else.
Don't send in those photos, guys. Just don't.
Yeah. Call 111. No. Like I said, nutrition and lifestyle choices is a foundation for it all, because we know the rewards of recruitment, right? The most obvious one is the financial security, but also self-development, meeting people, talking to people. There's a huge amount, but a lot of the major pulls for people in recruitment is financial security and financial freedom. But for me, wealth isn't how many zeros you have in your bank account. Wealth is about the memories that you have with the people that you love. Wealth is about how healthy you are. Wealth is about how much you enjoy the life that you have. We work for 70% of our life, so we have to enjoy what we do, but we have to also make sure that the rest of our life is in balance, because if you dedicate all your time to work, the rest of your life, as in the other compartments of your life, will suffer.
Yes.
Your health. If I know people that used to work, they used to cope with like 3 or 4 hours sleep, because they wanted to, speak to certain candidates or get through. But let's just break that down. Think about what that means, right? You're prioritizing work, and you're living to work. Yeah. Basically, that's what you're trying to do. The only reason you're alive is to work. But what you're doing, you're not getting your sleep. Your sleep is vital when it comes to growth hormone release, when it comes to rebuilding, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your cognitive performance, when it comes to your trying to fight colds and
your immune system needs sleep.
Your immune system needs it. If you're working like that, then your nutritional balance is going to be off. You're going to be probably skip breakfast or have a coffee and a banana for breakfast so you can get in, and then you'll grab a Boots meal deal to go for lunch because it's quick, and then you might grab like a kebab or a pizza or whatever on your way home because it's late and you can't really be asked to cook, and your partner's already eaten, so you can't really. And all that does is it creates inflammation and it creates imbalance inside, and after a while that's detrimental to your health.
Of course it is.
Overexposure to inflammation causes all sorts of medical conditions, and it's all caused by our diet and us looking after ourselves. And it's the same with hydration. Hydration is so important. We overlook it and think, I've had like 6 cups of coffee today, that's liquid going in my body. But it's not, though, because caffeine's a diuretic. So we're actually dehydrating ourselves. And if we, from a physical performance and from a cognitive performance perspective, if our hydration status drops to below 1%, and that's the time that we feel the sensation of thirst. So if we're already thirsty, we're already past the level I'm about to describe. So if thirst is 1% dehydration, at that point, our cognitive ability has already dropped. Our ability to think clearly, perform to the maximum of our ability has already decreased by over 10%. Okay, so hydration is really important. Get yourself one of those, not endorsed by anyone, but get one of those branded bottles, the reusable ones, so it's good for the environment, and just have it next to you all the time. I promise you, just having the visual cue of one of those water bottles next to you, you'll drink so much more. And as I know I do it, I double up to like 3 to 4 liters a day now, just drinking water, just because I've got one of those bottles because it's a cue, and I used to be terrible at it. But lifestyle choices are important. So dedicate time to spend time with your partner. Book in date nights or book in like trips away, something to look forward to. Make sure that you're getting out and getting some exercise, even like a 10-minute HIIT session in the morning, or a 20-minute walk at lunch. Fresh air, endorphins, vitamin D when the sun comes out. All of this stuff is vital for your performance, because if you're that driven by work, you want to perform at your best. And if you're not looking after all these other compartments of your life, then your performance at work is going to dip.
Of course it is.
And then you're just going to get angry, and then it's not going to be enjoyable for anyone. So get your exercise, create your memories, fuel yourself right, and then the work bit will look after itself. But it's so important to look after number one, because at some point, life, you get one go at life, and it's not even guaranteed at that. Right. And at the end, it's not going to be about how many zeros you've got in your bank. It's about how many memories you've got.
I agree. I think
so. That's where the focus.
I love it. And everything that you said, I mean, I'm, the fittest I've ever been as I head towards 50. I do a HIIT 4 or 5 mornings a week, literally 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I do walk. I mean, unfortunately, my dog passed away this year, but I still make sure I go out as if he was with me. And I do 10,000 steps minimum a day, fast. I get my heart pumping. And I agree with you totally that vitamin D, especially in the UK, guys, we don't get much of it. So if you need to just do a walking meeting while you're on the phone, just say, I'm actually going out for a walk at lunchtime because I'm not going to get a chance and it's going to rain the rest of the day. Do it. Don't.
Or like weekly reviews, right? So we can, if it's a nice day and you're like an aspiring leader and you've got your you're mentoring 2 people or something, and it's the day where you're going to be in back-to-back meetings, do it on a walk.
Absolutely.
Have it outside. Go for a walk and do
meetings. I've got a client, and I'm going to name check him actually, because he's he won't come on the podcast, and I know I've asked him in the past, and that's absolutely fine. But he's a remarkable man, because he's been doing walking meetings for about 10 years. He's called Doug McKay of Collingwood Search, and they're based in Tarpley, right next to a golf course. And he's been doing that for 10 years. They go and have a meeting, a review, walking around the golf course at lunchtime. So people have been doing it, and everything you've said there, I'm going to summarize before we finish. It's all about doing these things mindfully. I've been drinking mindfully. I get myself a glass of water before every podcast, and I know that during the podcast I will drink. You are mindful when you're eating, so you're not just grabbing something from a shop and eating it at your desk. I do eat on the go, but I will think, right, what do I actually want to eat? What am I going to put in my body today? And it's taking the time. We're all so busy. And especially recruitment leaders, you know, it's the hardest job to do. You said that right at the start of this podcast. But, you know, recruitment leaders and billing managers, we're creating revenue, and we're trying to create cultures of creating revenue. So mindfully think about everything that you do, because if you spread yourself too thinly, you'll do everything badly. So do one thing well at that moment. And that includes eating, sleeping, you know, doing things with your partner, playing football with your kid. Just even if it's 10 minutes, just stop. I think that's been an amazing, amazing listen for people. And if you haven't, during this podcast, gone and got a glass of water, I'll eat my hat. Please follow Mike. I think, Mike, you're quite prolific on LinkedIn and social media. And we're really grateful for everything that you've given us today. I think you've really made people stop and think, I reckon, today. And that's, so, you know, people don't talk enough about nutrition and sleep within a recruitment context, and we should be doing, because actually we need to look after ourselves, because it's a burnout sector otherwise. So thank you so much on behalf of our audience. We're really grateful to you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, like I said, it's been helpful, and people, even take one thing from it, then that's good for me. But as Alicia said, feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I put out stuff every day, content up every day for all these kind of various topics. So feel free to connect with me on there. I'm an open connection, so connect with me on there, and I look forward to helping you more moving forward. Definitely. We'll make sure everything's shared on there. But thank you so much for joining us today, Matt. We're really grateful.